Good morning. What a great weekend we had. Building packed out and great spirit and people trusting Christ. And it's great to see young Christians bringing their friends. And it's just anyway. We had two young adults there. One of them saved, and they were brought by their friends who've been recently coming, and I love what God's doing around us, and of course, lots of other people hearing the gospel. More people than that trusting Christ. Those are just two very special people to me. But it's great to know that God works and that God is alive and well, and it's easy to get complacent. You think about the miracles of Elijah. And if you count them up, depending on how you count basically 8 miracles in Elijah's whole ministry. And when Elisha prayed and asked for a double portion, and Elijah said, "Well, you asked a hard thing." Didn't say he couldn't get it, just a hard thing. Well, why was it hard? A whole lot of things in there to speculate on. But at the end of the story is you follow the life of Elisha, and there were 15 miracles, and then there was a funeral going on, basically carrying a dead guy out to bury him. Enemy troops coming over the hills. They either open up or there is an opening to a crypt, a place where it happened to be where Elisha was buried. They tossed this guy in there. His bones touched the bones of Elijah. His body touched the bones of Elijah, and he raised from the dead. That's miracle 16. He got that double portion. We have a great God, and a God who's willing, and a God who will do great and mighty things. We want him every day. I know I do. I can't get enough of seeing God work, and yet I think God wants our love simply because we love him. God wants our love because he's worthy of our love, not because of what he does for us. He wants our love because of who he is. He wants our love because he's the creator, and he gave us his son, and that's enough. We ought to love him, and yet he's so good to us. Then we start wanting the good, and when we don't get the good, then what? How come God's not coming through? And God's thinking, I'd like you to like me just because I'm your God, and I've got a home prepared in heaven. You want to live in a golden celestial city, and you want to reign and rule with me forever. And is that not enough to love me? And you go through the millions of people martyred for the faith, and you can see God thinking to us, spoiled Americans, am I not good enough that you could take some hardship and still love me and still serve me and still talk about me, even though you have a sickness or financial problems or whatever kind of trials? And we got a great God. I wanted to just kind of spring off last night's sermon. We had an outdoor service, snacks and fellowship, and of course we got a lot of people vacationing. But Sunday morning, like I said, we're just leaving the teen choir in the choir area, the choir loft, just because there may be enough seats to get them seated, but then we don't always know if there are, and it's crowded. And we thought for visitors coming in, visitors often come late. We want to make sure there's some seats, so we're just leaving the choir, the teen choir up, and still we had 16 people, I think it was, in New Mexico helping with Kevin and Loretta Walker and the Cowboy Carnival at the Brother Chitty, the Navajo Indian Reservation in Waterflow, New Mexico. And so that was, I think, 16 of our folks. And then we have, every week, we have people in Rialto helping with Brother Tim Peterson, the new church there, Foundations Baptist. And so we probably had, I'm guessing, 20 plus people, workers, not in church, Sunday morning. And yet the building was completely filled and people in the overflow room. But pray that we can keep the offerings as full as the auditorium, because we got a lot to do. But Sunday night, just a lot of good music and a lot of good fellowship. And I love being around our people. I look forward to heaven. I look forward to being with the people of God. I look forward to being able to fellowship and talk with Christians from Kenya and the Amazon and North Korea, and talk about how God was so good to them and how God carried them through. And I think we'll take, I don't know if there's a point where time will be no more, but I think there's going to be a whole lot of, isn't God amazing, stories being told. I love being around the people of God. But just a little bit reflecting off last night, we have a great God. Let me just give you, I'm going to be in Psalm 1 just in a minute, but now unto him who is able, Ephesians 3:20, to do exceeding abundantly above all we ask or think. Exceeding abundantly. And Psalms 86, and these are off the top of my head, so I may not get the reference right. I believe Psalm 86:10, if I'm remembering right. Open thy mouth wide, and I'll fill it. And Jeremiah 33, call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. Try me or prove me now, God says, and see if I'll not open the windows of heaven. In Malachi 3:9. Understand this, we have a great God. And that great God, if it's for his glory, if it's to bring him honor, he's able to do anything. And then a lot of times he just does stuff just because he loves us and he lets us have things. But as we go into this week, and we're halfway through summer, let's take time to pray, and let's take time to walk with God and talk to God. You see a bee, a flower, you see a tree blossoming. I got peaches, great big old peaches on my peach tree, and you look at that, and where does that peach come from? And I've got squash growing, and tomatoes, and nectarines, and oranges. Of course, they're a long ways from being ripe. They won't be ripe till fall, but there's oranges, little green ones, ping pong ball size, and had apricots. They're all gone, and not very many this year. I'm not sure what I did wrong, or I don't know. It's the year of the Sabbath year when the apricots were resting. But yeah, I mean, you look at a peach and think, what a God. And when I think about the wonder of God, I just think, I don't have to see the fruit, but I think of a banana and a pineapple and a mango. And you just think through you think of a carrot and a zucchini, and you start thinking through the stuff that grows that God made. And then you look at the heavens, and the heavens declare the glory of God. And our theme for the year, Psalm 96, we're to declare his glory among all nations. We need to tell the world that the God who put those stars in the sky, he deserves your love and your worship and your praise. He's an awesome God. He's an incredible God. And we got to lift his name up and talk about him. You look at a little child and think of that little baby, and how does that baby grow, and how do they mature, and they learn languages, and they learn coordination, they learn eyes and ears, and distance and depths, and what a God we serve that made all this, that put all these things in order. Still simple things. I cut my lawn every week, and that lawn has been growing for 9 years, I guess, since I planted it, and it just keeps growing. And where does it all come from? And what a wonderful God, and he deserves our awe. But in Psalm chapter 1, he does say a few things that are very simple, and over the years I've talked about them. Blessed is the man. This is a universal statement. This is anybody. Blessed is the man that does some things. Now, if it said stand on your head in the corner and you'll win the lottery, people be having flat spots on their head all over the place. Blessed is the man, what? That walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Stop letting ungodly people guide your life. And we let the most godless people and people who are anti-God, anti-church, we let them guide us. And I'm not saying me or you, I'm saying our culture. You want to be blessed, you stop letting the godless guide you. Blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth no way of sinners. We need to stop hanging out in those places where the shameful, sinful world hangs out, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. To sit with a scornful spirit and a critical spirit, to slander and to attack. He said, you want to be blessed, you got to get away from the scorner. And you can't let the scorner get you scorning. The best thing is to get away from him. I turn off a lot of people in the news, and I sense a scornful spirit in a newscaster, even a conservative. There's some conservatives I won't listen to on the news. They're very popular. Their spirit is not right to me. I don't need that spirit. I know this. I'm affected by what I hear, and I don't want, some of them, it's they're whiny. They're whining, wah, wah, wah. And others, They're constantly slanderous. There's no hope. There's no promise. There's no. I mean, look at the Bible. The Bible's filled with everything's going to be all right. And so I'm careful. Well, listen. Well, don't walk in the counsel of the ungodly. Don't stand in the way of sinners. Don't sit in the seat of the scornful. But what is he going to do if he's going to? This is the blessed man. Verse 2. His delight is in the law of the Lord. Do we love this book? Have we read it today? Do we delight in it? His delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. That's simple as that. Just love it and meditate on it. Think about it. Stop the busyness and take time in the Bible. Stop 2 or 3 times a day. Write down a verse and look at it 2 or 3 times a day and think about it. His delight is in the law of the Lord. Love this book. And I know Ezekiel's hard to read, and the first chapters of Numbers are hard to read, and we all understand that. But there's so much in this book. It's a wonderful book. And I'll say this, you start getting critical of God and the Bible's boring and I don't get anything out of it. You start treating it that way, what you're going to find is God is going to withdraw from you. And you're going to find like you just for a little while, little by little through small deeds, convince your spouse that you don't delight in them anymore and that they are just an object. We're in the same house, we're married, I guess we'll tolerate each other. Hey, you're going to lose what you could have had with that person. And we've got a family conference coming up in about 6 weeks, and we're going to talk some about this. But you want to feed your spouse your pleasure, that you enjoy them, that you like being around them, that you like to talk to them, because people, we're human. We only take so much. You're an irritant to me, and I don't want to bother with you. You only do that to me so long before I'll give it back to you. Fine. I got plenty to do with my life. I don't have to sit and talk to you. And we don't want that. Well, we don't want that with God either. Love his book. Love it. Have your favorite chapter. Have your favorite story. Have your favorite principles and truths and delight. And then the result in verse 3. Verse 1, things you shouldn't do. Verse 2, things you should do. And verse 3, things that will naturally come. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Now that doesn't mean, this is some of last night's sermon, that doesn't mean you're not going to have trials. It means you'll prosper through your trials. It doesn't mean you're not going to have burdens. It means you're going to prosper through your burdens. You may end up, a widow, a single parent. You may end up bankrupt. You may end up in a car accident. You may end up in a wheelchair, whatever. But God will use you and bless you and prosper you in that situation. Anybody can be blessed when nothing's wrong. Anybody can feel like everything's good when, you got money and health and everybody likes you and nobody hates you. But when the world's coming apart and God says, hey, stick by me and I will continue to bless you and I'll continue to protect you. And we want God's presence. We want God's presence. And I just want to encourage you, we have a great God. The promises of God are true and they're real. They are not carte blanche, that you'll never have an ingrown toenail, that you'll never have to wear glasses. They're promises that God will use you and prosper you, and God will take your life and make it into something valuable. That's the promise. And I look at our president, the very fact that he turned his head at the right time and a bullet that could have been here was suddenly here. And that was of God. And God could have had him lose his life. And God is God. He can do what he wants. But God is here, and he's willing to bless. And I think we ought to pray for our country. That day that the shot was fired at President Trump, that morning, I pray for him most every day. I would say every day, but I'm sure there's days I miss. But that I remember Saturday morning, I prayed for his wife. I prayed for Barron. I prayed for his other kids. I can't always remember all their names, but I got President and Ms. Trump, and Barron, and the other kids, and I pray for. It's hard to believe. I pray for President Biden. I pray for our president. I pray for our governor. I would not pick them as my leaders, but they are leading our country and our state right now. And I pray for them. And I pray that God would guide laws and give us liberty to serve God. But what could I just assure you? We have a great God. Seek God. Draw near to God. Pray for those grandkids. Who knows whether if it was the prayers of God's people that stopped him from being shot Saturday. It might have been that God was going to, if people of God don't care, I'll take him to heaven, and I'll let America have the mess that they've got. But maybe enough people were praying, and God said, you know what? I think I'll give him a shot. And again, we're not trying to get President Trump to be our pastor or our family counselor. He's not a family guidance counselor or anything like that. But we need somebody to lead our country, and we need someone to defend our country and stand up for our rights and keep the world at bay and protect our liberties. I don't want the government infringing on our liberties. I want the government giving us liberty and staying out of our business. And I don't care what party somebody's in. If they'd stand for unborn babies' lives, they'd stand for traditional homes and marriages, and they'd stand for liberty. I don't care what name they are. But you try taking away my liberties, I'm against you. And that's why I'm against most of the Republicans right now, especially here in California. I think you guys haven't done a thing but keep your jobs secure. But it's not about politics. It's about God. Pray that God would prosper us, our church, our churches. Boy, we need churches. We need the money to get a new building up. We've got bills to pay as a church. There's from our area, from Temecula to the south, the freeway Y, from the 15 to the west side and the 215 to the east side, and from Temecula and Murrieta and Menifee and Sun City and Paris and Homeland and Romaland, all the way up through March Air Force Base, all the way to Moreno Valley. There are hundreds of thousands of people, and hardly a church over there that's preaching, that's soul winning or preaching the gospel. We need a church over there. And I'm thinking, let one of these young guys pastor ours, and I'll go over there and start another church. And I'm not saying I would do that. I'm old. My knee doesn't work good enough to knock on all the doors that need to knock on. But somebody, we ought to care. I pray for that area. Thousands and thousands of people. And no man cares for their soul, not hardly. And I care for their soul. And we ought to pray. Hey, we got a great God. Don't lose sight of a wonderful God who's willing and able to bless. We've got some things that are on our side. Don't do verse 1, do verse 2, and verse 3. It belongs to God. Hey, have a great week, and pray for our church. Pray for your church. You go to another church. Pray for your church. Pray for the blessings of heaven to come and prosper us in his work.